Hello and welcome to the Lila Life Show. I am your host, Linda Andrews, and I'm honored to be with you today. It feels great to be back. It's been about a year since our last episode, and in this time, I've been navigating my own transitions. Also, 144 pages into my book right now. More on that in the future. Been getting my hands very messy in pottery, my latest obsession. I've been taking these small little vessels and making them into these really awesome candles. I have been making candles for years, and so it's been really fun to tie those two together. Pottery was something that as a kid I always was curious about. We also would do some hand building. I had the clay. My mom would get us the clay that you could put in the oven and bake it into those little, I don't know, little like clay trinkets. And I was always intimidated by the wheel. So getting onto the wheel for pottery, it sounds maybe a little nerdy, these childhood fears when you confront them, it's like a little bit of an unlock. I don't know if you can relate to that. So yes, it was an unexpected break, but a needed break, and by no means was I breaking. I have maintained my consulting work over the past year and mentioned some of the other projects I've been working on, and yeah, just a little bit of perspective shift, digestion. I know that you all know how much I believe in integration as a big part of practice. It's not just learned, it's learned and lived. And what I've noticed from podcasting, for which I can barely believe is now 6 years, that sometimes the integration needs to be done 100% insulated. It's not for the public view. It is for myself, and I don't know if that will ever change. I like privacy, I like my own time and space, and I like to serve. I love to serve and I love to share, and that was really my intention when I first started, was to be able to share, and that is still my intention. And so if you've been here from the beginning, thank you. If you are new, welcome. And some of my favorite topics to discuss is business, well-being, life transitions, and how to move through them with clarity, with faith, with intention. And my latest one-liner is the antidote to chaos is intention. And absolutely, when we look around the world, there is chaos. And when you look into your own life, there's the invitation for intention. And so, whatever you see going on outside, I just remind you to remember that intention, and double check your phone time, because it could always be an opportunity to reset that intake. So, just some thoughts there. We'll get into a little bit more here. And there's a lot that's out of our control. I remember at the beginning of 2020, some of the early lessons then that I realized was that there's a lot more that I don't have control over than I have control over. And I wish I could tell you that I had that moment and learned that lesson and was able to just digest it and move along. But it's something that I rub up against regularly. What's in my control, what's out of my control, and just owning the what is my control and surrendering that out of my control. The other thing that is abundantly clear to me is that you have your moment to ground into your highest expression. I have this too, right? If this is your connection to God, to your higher power, to love, to life itself, there's a different experience that's available. And so while there's much that's out of your control, that opportunity for that connection is very much in your control and is very much with you. And so I do my best to be, I want to just call this faith open, right? I believe each person's relationship with faith and belief is your own individual journey and process. And it could look like one thing today and it could evolve to be a different thing over time. I was a girl who won a paleo challenge and then went to a plant-based culinary school, and now love our locally sourced meat when we get it. Shout out to Ranchers Reserve, right? And so things can change and evolve over time, and we're each in a personal relationship with these very personal things. And so I do encourage the exploration of these topics. When I think of consciousness, I do think of God, I do think of divinity. When I say Leela, when I say divine play, I think of God, I think of divinity, I think of divine play with a capital D. And I understand and respect each person's personal journey on this path. And this was something that over time became really clear to me where I was raised Lutheran, Christian, Catholic, right, in the Christian and Catholic schools, and churchgoer for a large majority of my life. And one thing that I noticed is how there can be division and hypocrisy embedded in the bureaucracy of religion. And I don't love that. And so I do think it's important to stand for something and have something, but there's just a point where is the love there? Is the connection? Is there reverence for life and love itself there? And I'm not speaking for everyone, but sometimes it cannot be there. And so I do my best to embody that. And I do find Christ consciousness resonant. I have had many, 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 many powerful experiences throughout my life. And, like I said, part of the integration is very much a personal process. And so, as much as I love to teach and use my own examples, I also have reverence for my own personal experiences and journey and what is for public consumption and what is not, and do my best to navigate those lines. And so again, you have this opportunity for your highest expression every day. What this is not is perfection. I like the aim of precision. I love the aim of highest perspective. I love the aim of even perfect, but it is not that. I don't know if that's ever fully available, right? Uh, One thing I learned through coaching over the years, it's constant and never-ending improvement. Can I, right? Can things be a little better? And in swimming, right, you get 1/100th, you can always be 1/100th better. And so these to me are aims, and they have been very much fueling to me. But I'm in this phase of life also where I'm exploring what is overperforming and finding that flow state, that sweet spot. And anyway, it's just a little bit of a pulse check there, but a reminder that you can control how you're showing up in your roles, your responsibilities. One thing my dad would always say is respond to your ability, responsibility, your ability to respond. And you have so much power there in your ability to respond. And especially today, having that extra second or two or five or 10 to pause and digest in that responding, there's a lot of power there. So we are celebrating right now, this week, one of my favorite times of year, one of the four big milestones of the year, right? You're finishing summer, you may feel scattered. It's a shift in seasons. Maybe the energy is spread thin in peak summer, right? It's the peak momentum, peak output. If you're in the southern hemisphere, just do the opposite of whatever I'm saying here. But this is a mega moment of transition in this fall equinox. And so right now is a great time to be inviting a reset, especially if you're in that fogginess, you're feeling that spinning, the distraction, the unfocused. If you feel like sometimes you're behind, this could even be a time, dare I say, to get ahead of next year, right? Using this fall season to close out any ends of 2025 and start preparing and welcoming in the new of 2026 and planting any of these seeds. And so in this fall equinox right now, this week, you're in perfect balance. Day and night are equal. And this to me is a message from nature saying it's time for us to realign again. So this framework that I've continued to be obsessed with since our last recording series of last year, time, the use of time, your use of your energy, your use of attention, your use of money. If you're looking for where to start for the realignment, aside from your biggest pain points, frustrations, friction points, this can also be a good guide. And that acronym does spell team, and I look at this as your inner team and this as part of your personal responsibility. How are you using your time, your energy, your attention, and your money? And so when you think of time, what's one commitment you could release this season? And in that releasing, it's making room for the new. When you're thinking of energy, what's one thing that's draining you? Thinking of how you actually feel. Do you feel energized? Do you feel lit up? Do you feel bogged down? And so noticing those differences in your energy and connecting those dots. And when we're thinking of attention, where does your focus need to go? Where's your focus going? Are there any drains in terms of focus and attention? This is one that I'm constantly paying attention to. I did a detox, a full detox, a consumption detox earlier this year, and it was no, I could check my texts and do my phone calls, but that was it. I was not reading, I was not um consuming content. It was just a full consumption detox. And, you know, it's probably time for another one. And so remembering that you can start small, these shifts can stack quickly. Do you ever have the feeling of, wow, this really works? And that's something in my own life that I've noticed. Some of these habits and patterns have been going on in my life now for decades. And it's amazing to see something stack and compound over decades and years. And it's never too late to start. And so, as you're thinking about some of this releasing and letting go, you could write down for each of these categories your time, your energy, your attention, your money. What's one thing you're letting go of for each, you're releasing, and what's one thing that you're welcoming in. And if you are like me and love pens or highlighters, highlight anything that's really sticking out, star, circle, whatever you need to do, and thinking what's one small step that you can take this week. I'm pretty sure you can do that exercise in 1 to 10 minutes. Probably less time than any scrolling you may be doing. And see how this shifts your fall. See how this changes the season ahead for you. I want to invite you to join me. If you're driving, please keep your eyes open and maybe push pause and come back to this. But just a few rounds of grounding breath, allowing yourself to feel grounded to the floor beneath you. And we'll just do a steady box breath here, taking a simple inhale and exhale. And starting with this guided breath, inhaling through your nose, holding the breath here, exhaling through your nose or mouth, and holding. And doing this 3 more times, inhaling through your nose, holding, and exhaling, and hold. On this next inhale, see if you can draw the breath down deep into your low abdomen, inhaling, holding, and exhaling, and holding. And last round, inhaling, hold, and exhale, and hold. Slowly coming back to your regular breath. If you closed your eyes, opening your eyes. This box breath, it's 4x4 breathing. This is a great balancing breath. And as we're thinking of the summer equinox to fall, summer solstice to fall equinox, as you're thinking about that, finding that balance within yourself for a few moments. So you can have these moments of reset, but the consistency is the transformation. I have been working on a new product And it's essentially the productized service of the integrative advisory work that I've been doing over the past 7 years. Can you believe it has been 7 years since I left my finance career? I can barely believe it. Time flies, and every moment is such a gift. I truly believe that. And taking everything I've learned about entrepreneurship, I've wanted to put this into one program for myself, meaning what I've learned about business, what I've learned about working with my clients and customers, simple is best, taking in mind this idea of a minimal viable product, what's the quickest thing to get out. And so, working through all of this, I came up with the 22-day reset. So, this is live on the website. I have a few final integrations that I'm working on, but you can buy this today. It's $22 and it is again a 22-day reset where there's different audios. It's the same audios for the full course of the reset. You can use those every day if you want to, or you can use what you need. And then there's some guided prompts each day and a journal to do some check-ins. And so if you're feeling stuck in a transition, you're feeling like you've been at a plateau, you feel like there's more to give, you feel like you're ready for what's next, that's what I really created this for. And I know what it feels like to be stuck and stagnant and just really in a tough place during a transition. And so consider checking out this 22-day reset. And the goal is to help you move from scattered to clear, chaos to rhythm, one day at a time. And so if you're finding resonance in this, then you'll definitely want to check that out. It's an absolute honor to be back with you. I mean that deeply. I've missed you. And this fall, don't drift or do whatever you want to do. It's your life, right? But you do have a chance to reset, realign, and begin again. Thank you so much for tuning into the Lila Life Show. I'm your host, Linda Andrews, and I will see you next time. Many blessings.